I'm Hideelee from So I Married a Record Collector, and to my left is the record collector. This is my husband,
John,
as I hit him with the cards here. John, JT. We are here to do a introductory video, just kind of letting you know about who we are, why we're doing this, and just answering some questions that we've received. So we'll start off in just a moment. So if you wanted to know who are these strange people that we keep seeing in these videos and what the heck are they doing here, stay tuned. So our first question is a pretty obvious question. Who are you and where are you from? What's going on? So this is the basic question. Who are we? And I guess we could start off. I'm Hideelee. I was born many years ago in Northern Illinois, and I hail from the same town as Cheap Trick, and that is like the one claim to fame our town has as far as being anywhere near cool, because otherwise, you know, it's a place that you could just probably drive through and you would never miss it. But yeah, born and raised in and around Rockford, Illinois, moved to Northern Michigan almost 20 years ago. And it was during those early years that I lived here that I met John. And we did meet online. I'm not ashamed to admit that we did, but we didn't meet through a dating site or anything.
We met on MySpace, which is like the abandoned amusement park of the internet now.
Playground. And we were abandoned playground.
You know, talking for a while, getting, just chatting, and one day I said, how about a visit? And like he started coming to visit. And after a few years, in August 2007, I moved out here to start a new life with her, and I needed more room for records, so.
And you came from?
I am born and raised in Central Jersey, the town of Rahway. Rahway, home of Merck Pharmaceutical, the hometown of Carl Sagan, the scientist, astronomer.
And everybody in my town has like a Rick Nielsen story. Like you've ran into him, your uncle or aunt used to know them or go to school with them, or, you saw him in the grocery store at 2 a.m. buying frozen dinners. I mean,
Chris.
There's so many. Yeah, everybody's got a Cheap Trick story.
Well, remember when we met him and you told him I'm from Rockford? He said, I'm sorry.
Yeah, he said, I'm sorry. Yeah, funny, real quick story that doesn't really have anything to do with this, but Cheap Trick fans will probably dig it. We were in town about 10 years ago,
I think
possibly,
like 7
or 8. A couple of friends of ours were
less than 10, more than 5.
Yeah, a couple of friends of ours, really good friends of ours, were getting married. We were in town. We knew that the Rick's Picks exhibit was happening at the Burpee Museum, and I remember saying, hey, we should go check it out. We had some free time. We should go check this out. And John was kind of like, I don't know. And I'm like, oh, let's just go check it out. So we went to the museum, and it was just going to open. It was early in the morning.
Yeah, we got there at opening time, and we went in to pay the admission fee, and they said, oh, you're going to have to wait because we just got a call that American Pictures is coming to film an episode, but since you're being delayed, I think they gave us free admission, but we had to sit outside and wait while they pulled up and filmed like an introductory video and then went in and did their thing with Rick Nielsen looking at stuff. Yeah. And then we toured the exhibit and got outside, and we were able to meet Mike from American Pickers and Rick Nielsen. Frank skedaddled away. I think he went to have a smoke.
Yeah, it was funny that all that just sort of happened, and we hadn't even really. We were just gonna go check it out.
I mean, a great surprise.
It was a really cool surprise. And Rick was nice and gracious and funny.
He was
kind of aloof a little bit, but still kind.
Goofy.
He was friendly to an extent.
Yeah.
But Mike, if you've ever watched American Pickers, we were frequent watchers of the show back then because we like going to antique stores and stuff and looking for records and other things. And to run into that show being filmed plus Cheap Trick was really just amazing coincidence. and it was just an awesome day that we got to meet him and experience that. I was not a Cheap Trick fan until I moved away, and I think it was maybe because it was like so much like yay Cheap Trick all the time in Rockford that I didn't really care for it. I just really wasn't into it. But when I moved, I started getting more interested in it. I don't know if it was just some kind of weird homesickness or something, but I don't know.
It's like how now I was never a Bruce Springsteen fan, but now that I'm 800 miles away, I'm still not a fan, but I will not turn him off if he comes on the station because it's like a little remembrance of home. I do like a few songs, and if I met him, I think I'd talk to him and get along with him well. But I'm just not a fan of his music much, partly because of the ramming into your head on the Jersey Shore. It just doesn't appeal to me. Nebraska's a great record though, and a few other tracks, but just not my thing. But now you mature, grow older, and you're open-minded to things. And I dig a lot of Cheap Trick now, and I realized they're kindred spirits because they dig the Yardbirds, the Move, and everything.
Yeah, I think he's kind of softened a little bit in his music elite.
You do as you get older.
Him and I always had this impression of, if you've ever seen High Fidelity, that little conversations that they have in the store remind me a lot of John and his friends, because it's like so opinionated and so much cooler than everyone else with your musical tastes and everything. But I'm like, I like stuff that other people would probably be like, oh, that's so uncool. Like, I like ABBA. And
I never,
and you've liked some ABBA songs since I've played them.
SOS
so I mean, come on, it's
SOS is a great song, but you think I like it because Pete Townsend said he.
Pete Townsend gave him the permission to like ABBA.
But no, it's a good song, and plus the Alan Partridge connection. Music was always in my house growing up. I mean, parents weren't musicians, but my dad. Big Johnny Cash fan. In fact, that's who I'm named after. And he was always playing he has tons of Johnny Cash records, which I have now. Well, not tons, but quite a few. And he loved Johnny Cash, the Beach Boys, 50s rock, because he graduated in 56. And and as a grammar school kid, second grade, you like Kiss because it's like a Hanna-Barbera version of rock and roll. And then sometime in the 6th grade, my best friend in the neighborhood at the time, Tommy Bizzacco, made me a tape with a sequence of Led Zeppelin, The Who, The Kinks, Led Zeppelin, The Who, The Kinks. And I just fell in love with all of it, especially My Generation, the first Who song he put on the tape. I didn't want to know nothing after that. I didn't care about school, nothing. I just wanted to listen to music. I wanted hot rods, pretty long-haired girls with 60s looks. Most of all, I wanted to break stuff. But it just
he's not a violent person at all.
It just set me on a course
he's like
of
the
an
most
obsession
calm,
of
sweet person.
Having to get every record by that's collecting. You fall in love with a band and you get slightly obsessive. And I got to get every record, every song. Even if just one song only appears on this one copy, at the time, grammar school, how much money do you have to spend? So you had to really plan and scrimp. But then again, records, were $4.99. But that's what started me on, my friend Tommy, turned me on. And my friend Bruce Sitze in grammar school, he gave me a bunch of his. He was upgrading to cassettes, so he gave me some of his LPs, one of which I still have.
And I distinctly remember taking my brother's Walkman and his tapes, and the ones specifically that he had, I remember Tom Petty. Of course, the Monkees. That's where my obsession began, actually, in the mid-'80s when they appeared on MTV. It's one of my earliest musical TV comedy memories is watching the Monkees on MTV. And just from what my brother had, and then just having a little radio. I had a little radio or a little Walkman, and I was always listening to it. I had headphones on like constantly as a kid.
I worked at a record store called Izzy's Records that was mainly based in Linden, New Jersey, for 10 years. I knew of the owner, Dave, for a while because he worked at Vintage Vinyl in Ford's for several years, and I would see him there, and he used to put on record shows at the Coachman Inn, so I kind of knew who that guy was. And a UPS driver that came to my mom's job, would talk to my mom and mention to my mother, because she must have mentioned to him I was a music fan, and said, yeah, there's a new record store over on St. George's Avenue called Davies, go check it out. And I went in there for the first time, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember this guy. And just through constant trips, talking with him, I got to know him really well. I was a good customer, and became friendly. I remember before I was working there, he invited me to his birthday party. And then one day, Sunday, I was in there shopping, and my friend Brian, who had been working there, had quit. And Dave was on the phone calling people who said they had been interested in the past and working, and he couldn't get anybody. And he saw me sitting there flipping through the racks, and he just went, John, you want to work here? And I just thought, okay, what's the worst that can happen? I started out working on Sundays, just noon to 5, because I did have a full-time job. I was working Tuesday to Saturday, 4 to 12, 4 p.m. to 12 midnight. And I started out working on Sundays with my friend Gordon from noon to 5. And then I moved up at Dun & Bradstreet, and I ended up with a 3-day work week, 3 12-hour days. So Dave was real happy because, I can have you for more time. So I ended up working Sundays, Monday nights, and Tuesdays all day. And it was a great thing. You kind of have this romantic notion, record store. It's like, it's still work. You got to work. You don't just sit around and listen to records. That's a big part of it, the discovery and playing things, trying to get things to sell, or they just happen to sell because you're playing stuff. Like the way Dave explained, he goes, it's a lot of fun. It's just all this ancillary shit that floats around it. You're still running a business. There's problems with distributors and customers, good and bad. But it was great fun, a great social circle to be a part of. Met lots of people I'm still friends with. I miss it a lot. It was a great place to bust out of my shell, because I was always kind of quiet, not real, very outgoing, and I was just very, just slipped in nicely into managing a store very well. And Dave was always happy about that. And, he told my parents, he goes, I can trust all of my guys, but John, I can always trust to do the right thing by me. And I always was, he always appreciated I would go in early to do stuff, be it clean or, straighten up from the weekend. Yeah, and sadly, when we had moved, we were in Linden in 3 locations, and the 3rd location, the landlord sold it to a bank, so he hit the lottery, and we found a space in Kenilworth, which wasn't really quite retail. But as we were getting ready to move, sadly, Izzy passed away, and then his wife, widow, kept it open for like a year and a half till she, sold it off and closed. I was in the hospital with a gallbladder surgery when they decided to shut it down and empty it out, so I didn't have to see it be closed down, so I have warm memories. But it was a great experience. Like I said, a lot of fun. I got a lot of records, cheap, of course. Over the course of these videos, I'll probably be with, you've already seen, I got stories to tell about each record, where they came from. And I'll probably have some Izzy stories about unique characters, fun times, confrontational times with people. It was weird. We, working in that place, the 4 or 5 of us, we pretty much all got along, but it was just like a rock band or something. We could fight amongst each other, but if someone from the outside of that circle tried to fight with one of us, we closed ranks, and because we were partners, we were like a dysfunctional family. The function made us function, but we did really care about each other. I didn't want to see, coworker of mine,
anything
abused.
bad happen.
Well, Izzy always used to say, the only person who can abuse my employees is me.
So now you know a little bit more about things that have been mentioned in the videos that we've done so far. So if you've heard things mentioned like Izzy, Dave, Molly, you'll understand.
The other stores I shopped at.
Tommy.
Yeah, Tommy's store in Cranford, off the record, which I said was funny. Wednesday was my only day off from both jobs, and sometimes I would go to Tommy's store and hang out in the afternoon sometimes on a Wednesday.
What are you doing here?
Of course, I'd buy stuff. Big Jeff, showed me at the store. Or I go down to the Princeton Record Exchange.
Vintage vinyl.
I shopped at Vintage Vinyl from 87 up until I moved here. Except for the brief time I was working at Izzy's. I didn't need to go there because I was getting my stuff through Izzy. But sometimes I would still go there just to see what's up or find something.
There our relationship pretty much started because of our mutual love for a certain band. And over the years, listening to John talk about his record collection and music collection in general, he has so much knowledge, and not just like, knowledge of like the band members and the whatever. It's just this immense amount of detailed knowledge about the record, the album, the artist, and the story behind actually obtaining that can sometimes be really interesting. And trying to think of a way to really go through everything and hear those stories and then also share them with other people, because I can't remember exactly when I started kind of looking at YouTube for record collections or record collectors. And I know we stumbled upon, I'm sure if you know the vinyl community, that the one that we started watching was Emma of 8 Vinyl Low.
And coincidentally, she's a huge Cheap
Trick fan, which was pretty cool. And a few other folks that we started kind of watching on and off. And I'm like, I think your stories and your experiences are I think they're valid and they deserve to be heard. And I think other people might find them entertaining too. So I think that's my big reason for doing this. I mean, of course, we spend a lot of time together anyway, but it's another way that we can do something together and enjoy what we.
I know sometimes it's tough to
have in common.
The interests we have can be considered like solitary interests. Like, how do we read together?
Yeah.
Remember when we tried to read Ray Davis's Americana?
Yeah, that didn't work.
And this is something where it's a shared interest and something we can do, and also it's making us. We're pulling out a lot of records, and I don't know if a lot of guys do this. They're like, "Oh, crap! I forgot I had this." You've been hearing in these videos. I keep saying, "Oh, I haven't listened to this since I bought it."
That we have been doing a show on the local college radio station here in northern Michigan, WNMC, for about
15 years. October, November.
Yeah, I took a couple years off. Recently getting back into it. But we started doing the show. It was midnight to 2.
11 to 2.
Oh,
we've been through
3
time slots in 3 different locations with this studio.
Mm-hmm. But it's another way, to kind of. It was a really cool opportunity for John to really share his music collection, and I mean, I think I'm proud to say that we've been doing it for that long, and we've also met some really great people through that.
Yeah.
Long loyal listeners that have become friends. And I mean, one of the people we knew through the radio station, one of them even married us.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, he had the
yeah.
He had the official thing he got out of the back of a copy of Soldier of Fortune. Marry people. These are friends at parties, but
we got engaged. Officially engaged on Christmas Eve on the air
via exchanging gifts.
Yep, and so it's been a real pivotal thing in our lives, and this is, I think, just another extension of that.
I don't really have a philosophy. I mean, it just started. But the one thing I would tell anybody is like, hey, how do I get into record collecting? You gotta fall in love with the music first. Lists and discs and the original thing and the original rapper is fine and great. That's like a fetishism thing, the way Frank Zappa said that in Goldmine. I use that a lot. And I'm guilty of that a lot. I like doing that. I do like Henry Rollins. I'm in a Goodwill or something, and I see a record I already have, and it's mint and everything, and it's the poor thing just sitting there and like, oh, poor little record, you gotta come home with it. You gotta love the music first, I have met record collectors who have rare records and cool records, and I'm like, wow, that must sound great. Oh, I don't play it. It's like, what is wrong with you? Example, there was a guy who came in Izzy's, and he said he had, this was in the late 90s, and he said, oh, I got a mono copy of Blue Cheers, Vince Miss Erupting. I'm like, man, that must sound awesome. He's like, oh, I don't play it. It's like, what's the point? It's like having, hey, I got a Ferrari, but I'm not moving it.
He just polishes it with a diaper.
Like, if any of you out there remember Cub Coda of Brownsville Station, he was a great record collector. He had a column in Goldmine for years, and he told the story of a collector who collected 50s doo-wop records maybe just doo-wop. But anyway, it was 50s records, and he didn't play them. And you weren't allowed to take them out of the sleeve. Maybe just move them left to right a little, because see, they had original 50s dust on them. That's sick. You know, I mean, can you imagine? Like, look at all this around. What if I didn't listen to this, just had it? You know.
Well,
and people are like, "How did you listen to all that?" It's like, well, I didn't have 3,500 CDs and a couple of thousand records dumped on me at once.
yeah.
This all started in 1982.
People say that about our books too. I mean, we also have a massive collection of books, and it's like people are like, "Oh my god, you read all these?" And it's like, not all at the same time.
Right.
It's we're 40 plus over here, so I mean, what is it worth to you?
Yeah, that's of course that's what Izzy used to say about.
And that when you said
that,
worth. I think that is the most accurate thing, because I know that we've said before that the actual like value of records have changed so much over the years.
But yeah, things change. Suddenly that's real popular. Because if there's a demand, people say, all right, I can charge more then.
Yeah.
I would feel weird doing it. If I had a record store, I don't think it would go well, because I'd be still running on a late 90s business model, because that's what I know.
Yeah.
I'd be like, I'd be... But, you know, Izzy always used to say, a record's only worth what it's worth to you. One of my favorite things that he used to do that made him look like a jerk was somebody would bring a record to the counter, and it would be maybe too pricey for them, they thought. He goes, can you do better on this? And Izzy would go, yeah, I can make it $10. That's not better, that's more. It was better for me.
Yeah. Who's it better for? Yeah. It's better now.
Some people would laugh and laugh. All right, man, I get it. Other people would...
I'd laugh. I'd be like,
I
wouldn't ask, though. I'd feel weird. I'm not a haggler. And we love it, and it's a fun pastime and everything, but we pay our bills. We're responsible people as far as that goes. So
that was another thing Izzy would say. First time we met my parents, and they were like, ugh, so much music, you spend so much money on records and stuff. And Dave was like, hey, we didn't say hey like he was yelling at him. He's like, hey, but you know, he's spending money on something that he continually gets enjoyment out of. It has monetary value if he wants to sell it. You know where he is. He's at my store with our guys. You know where he's going. He's not wasting his money on booze, you know, cheap women, drugs the worst thing, or you know, he's not wasting his money on stupid crap, you know, $300 sunglasses or sneakers or something.
And again, if that's your thing.
He's got a nice, healthy hobby. My father even defended me to my sister that way.
Yeah.
You know?
So, again, I think what it all comes down to is, yeah, it can be a good investment if you buy the right things and you have the money to do so. That's in a reasonable way. Collect what you love and get enjoyment out of it.
Yeah.
You know, if enjoyment to you is 1,000 records and you don't really care what's on there, I mean, that's cool, but it seems like the point of music collecting in general is because you love it. I hate the word "it touches me," but it really does. You know, it sounds creepy, like you touched me or whatever, but like it really does. It gets down into your soul and it speaks to you. And it sounds hokey and kind of hippie-ish to say that, but
what does the girl Almost Famous say? How come people can't understand how you can love a song so much?
Yeah, and that's so true.
Oh, Fruza Balk.
Yeah. If you've ever seen Almost Famous, that's one of my favorite movies of all time. And it's so true, though. It's like, yeah, she says they don't know what it's like to love a piece of music or some stupid song so much that it hurts. You know, so...
The top three never really change, but sometimes go up and down. The Who are my probably favorite #1 band. That's just a band that, like you just said, another video, just, you know,
close to your heart.
Yeah, just totally. They got everything. You know, they're you know, scary. Could be spiritual. They're funny. They got humor. Incredibly intelligent. I mean, we love the Kinks, but I don't think you can make the Kinks scary even if you put paper bags on their head and a boo on it. But now that's what I saw in a book
scary.
Once. Yeah. Top. Oh, jeez. The ones I take to a desert island. The Who, of course.
Yep.
The Ramones. The Kinks.
That's 3.
I'm good at making.
I know, I'm kidding.
1, 2, 3, and D. The Who, the Kinks, the Ramones. Led Zeppelin falls in and out of my top 5 a lot.
We're probably going to talk about this throughout our looking at the collection, but John has a weird relationship with Led Zeppelin, and I think
thought they were
discover
the
it.
best thing since they
But
put pockets on
not
shirts in grammar
only
school.
not only Led Zeppelin, but also like sliding in there with a weird relationship are the Doors.
Yeah.
Like he has a weird relationship with Led Zeppelin and the Doors. It's like, I don't know. To me, it's like a jilted lover or something. Like somebody that you once just held on this pedestal, but like now you're afraid to even
sometimes
I don't know.
With the Doors,
They're just
it's
here.
like with the Doors, every 13-year-old kid that discovers the Doors thinks Jim Morrison's so cool. But then when you get older, you're like Dennis Leary. You think of him as like, you're drunk, you're nobody, you're drunk, you're famous, you're drunk, you're dead.
He's a drunken buffoon.
You get to a point where like you see through the bullshit, and you kind of look at like, yeah, the Doors are a pretty good band when Things at Night was on.
I like the Doors. I like Led Zeppelin, but they're not in my top 5.
See, now with Led Zeppelin, I still love them very much. But somewhere around 1975, my interest kind of tails off. I still like Presence and Into the Outdoor, but those aren't 2 albums I go to a lot to listen to. My favorite period is the prime years of late 68 to 1970, 71, before, when some kid in school said, yeah, before they became like the bell-bottom bunch with all the turquoise.
So are they in your top 5?
I would probably put them there.
Okay.
And then 5th would probably be The Pretty Things, because they were such a great band who never broke through big in America because they never came over to tour or anything. Phil May said they did get an offer to be on one of those Dick Clark Caravan of Stars, but they didn't want to do it. But I did read that Phil May visited America like in 65, 66. I said he had the longest hair ever. He must have been way out of place.
Wow.
Yeah, but like I said, it's all very nebulous.
Yeah, it's fluid.
changes.
It's fluid.
It's like
really
on Try Guys when they rate the different foods and Eugene's moving them around.
Yeah. And it's okay,
It's like, you just did this in my top 5. Then I'm like, man, I really love Mudhoney.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to think, like, who have I liked the longest?
You have your devotion and loyalty to certain groups.
Right.
For me, absolutely number 1, the Kinks, hands down, 100%. I mean, I actually started listening to the Kinks because of my best friend we used to trade compilations back and forth that we'd make for each other on CDs. And this is aging us right there, but she actually put Living on a Thin Line on a mix for me, and I don't know what it was. Something about the song, the tone, and it's funny because it's actually a Dave Davies composition and lead vocal, and I started just searching for, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the same Kinks who did songs I knew. You Really Got Me, All Day and All the Night, Sunny Afternoon. And I liked those songs. I wasn't like a uber major fan at the time or anything, but I thought, wow, these are the same guys who made those cool songs in the 60s. I love 60s music. What else do they have? So I searched, and everything I heard, and again, I've said this in an earlier video, I'm not one of those people who think that they can do no wrong. I mean, UK Jive,
yeah, the MCA,
right there.
The MCA years.
But a few songs here and there. But most of what I heard, something just clicked. And I think that, fellow music fans, when you hear a band that you fall in love with, basically, and you just want to hear everything that you possibly can by that band. And also sort of our relationship began because of me going out and searching for the Kinks. So in a weird sort of way, I owe my friend a great deal of gratitude for introducing me to the Kinks and which then led to all of this that you see around. So I have a huge, huge spot in my heart for the Kinks and Ray Davies and Dave Davies and Mick and Pete and even the guys in the 70s, John Gosling and Dalton and, oh my gosh, Jim Rodford.
Andy Pyle.
I mean, everybody who made the Kinks what they are. And I just love them so much. And I got to sort of, I didn't really meet Ray Davies, but my whole quick story, and I have to tell it because it was like the best night of my life. Sorry, honey. I saw Ray Davies in concert in Madison, Wisconsin with my brother. It was the first show that he did for his Other People's Lives album tour. So it was the first show that he had done since, I think, Storyteller. And it was an incredible show. But what was really, really cool was that, you know, there was no boundary. You can go right up to the stage. And I went right to the left of the stage, and I was just at his feet for the entire show. And to just be there and I was so fangirling at the moment. I could sort of understand why some of the chicks who screamed for the Beatles were like, oh, I feel really warm right now. But towards the end of the show, he signed the cover of my Other People's Lives CD, which we have framed up there on the wall along with the ticket stub, and shook his hand, and it was just such a cool experience, and it was just so fun, and it was everything that I think I would have wanted as a fan experience. I know some people say don't meet your heroes because you're going to be disappointed, and true, because we're all human and fallible and everything like that, but it was such a cool experience, and it was enough away that I couldn't develop any like weird opinions about, well, he seemed really aloof or he seemed this or that. It was perfect. So still Ray Davies and the Kinks, number one. My top 5 also would include the Monkees, hands down the Monkees. Like I said, my earliest musical memories involved the Monkees, and another band that we bonded over. He loves the Monkees too. We're not ashamed of it. We don't think it's dorky or stupid.
Haters gonna hate.
That's right. Haters gonna hate on the Monkees.
All through all these years, they still have.
Yeah, Monkees and Mike Nesmith and his amazing catalog of solo albums and songs and everything that he's done for music. And this is when it gets a little difficult because, again, after that, it gets really fluid for me too. But for right now, Jenny Lewis, Rilo Kiley right there in the middle kind of makes me a millennial, but I don't claim to be a millennial because I was born in, I'm not going to say the year I was born. Technically, because of the year I was...
say the year I was born.
Technically, because the year I was born, I'm a millennial, but...
What the hell am I?
A Generation X, which is more what I identify with myself. But anyway, no shade on the millennials. I love you guys. But I'm not a typical millennial by any means, so... Jenny Lewis, Rilo Kiley, probably a number 3 there, followed by I Love the Small Faces. Knew very little about them before I met John. He kind of really helped to immerse me more in the Small Faces catalog. And for the final one, I guess it would probably be the Cars. I love the Cars. I love all their albums. But again, it's real fluid. I go from the Cars, the Talking Heads. I love that early 80s sort of new wave pop, power pop. Cheap Trick is up there. I love the Ramones too. There's just a lot. We have a lot of favorite artists, and we're excited that, you know, we'll get to show a lot of them to you when you see the records.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here thinking, like, neither one of us mentioned the Beatles or Stones, and they fall in.
True, it's a given though. It seems like, almost a given. Like,
well, it's like every once in a while.
Who doesn't like something by the Beatles or the Rolling Stones?
Like I didn't like the Beatles for a while. Like growing up, when I first started getting into music, I didn't really check them out much. Well, I did, but they always felt obvious to me, like too easy. I mean, of course, they're the Beatles. They're great.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have a lot of other bands because of them, but sometimes it feels like it's like liking the New York Yankees, so they always win. It's just too easy to be a given. Fan.
It's a given.
It's too obvious.
Yes, love the Beatles, love the Stones.
Yeah, just with me, every once in a while, I'll just get into this mood where, like, I'm really into the Stones, want to listen to them. I go downstairs and I pick a random Rolling Stones book off the shelf and I'm reading it, and all of a sudden I want to listen to the 60s albums.
You gotta be in the mood for it. Yeah, I think. Yeah, but so many so many bands that I think we could probably have on that list depending upon the mood or the time of day or anything. I love Nancy Sinatra. I love the Equals, Georgie Fame, a lot of that British beat stuff
You're
from the
very
60s.
much Anglophiles.
Yeah. I am a magazine collector, vintage magazines, which is, you don't find, I suppose I could even probably do videos about that too, but it's kind of a weird niche, I guess you could say. I like vintage advertising and vintage fashion magazines. My favorite, and I love vintage teen magazines. So any kind of like 16, Teen Beat, that all started thanks to another one of my very best friends who got me a few issues of vintage late 60s 16 magazines for my birthday one year. I didn't really even think these existed, but she knew I loved the Monkees, so she found some magazines that she was at a thrift store and picked them up for me and gave them to me as a gift, and that started me, oh, what else is there out there? So it's another thing with collecting is like you like something and then you're like, oh my gosh, what else is there out there that pertains to this kind of a thing? So I went from collecting a lot of these teen magazines, which are valuable for the most part if they're in good shape, to, I do have Life magazines and Saturday Evening Posts and Look magazines, which are kind of like the Rumors album where it's, you know, there's so many, and I have that collector snob thing in me too. We go to a antique store and I see somebody pricing a Life magazine that's so common for like $20. I'm like, I can get that on eBay for like $2 or whatever.
More.
Yeah, so I have that little nerdy side of me, and it does take up a lot of space. So it kind of, all that resides in our basement in plastic tubs that we're kind of reorganizing right now, because I kind of went through and weeded out some things I didn't need because it was kind of getting a little bit out of hand. But it's still something that I love. If anybody out there has access to 1960s Vogues or 17 magazines, send me a message. I'm a collector. So, yeah, what about you?
Well, things have changed over the years. I mean, for a while, I love car culture of the 1950s and 60s. I love old cars, always have. I don't know, just like what some movie my coworker mentioned. He said the theme of the movie was the generation, the years before you, when you're living, always seem more interesting than what you're living in now. For a long time back home, a while, I got really into collecting those Ertl 118 die-cast cars, but that had to stop when I came here because they're not sold around here, and that's a space. No, that's a space thing, and also they became more and more detailed and more expensive. And I'm not, you know...
We don't really have a way to display them right now, too, so you're not really getting a lot of enjoyment out of them because you can't see them.
But like her, I occasionally will buy vintage hot rod magazines from the 50s, mainly 60s, you know, Rod and Custom, Hot Rod Carcraft, things like that. There's some more obscure ones I've discovered, like Custom Rodder. I like buying what they call men's adventure paperback books from the 60s, 70s. The dime store novels, whatever you call them. Just mindless fun. Occasionally I still buy a Hot Wheels car if I see one. Like I bought one yesterday grocery shopping for 99 cents. Yeah, I bought this for 99 cents. It looks like a 69 Mercury, but it's generic. It's some kind of lowrider. I was like, oh, that's cool. We also buy, you know, we'll occasionally buy any kind of like ephemera, how do you pronounce that, of like mid-60s London stuff. You know, like our friend Molly got us this. I think it's a reprint of a Carnaby Street, Who's Who in Carnaby Street, Hip Pocket Guide to Britain's Swinging Fashion Scene. That's basically, don't collect too much other things.
Mildly collect Pyrex, vintage Pyrex. Who doesn't? I mean, that stuff's great, and if you can find it cheap and in good shape, I always buy it no matter what. And I collect anything. I love Kermit the Frog, so I get a lot of Kermit stuff and Black Cat stuff. Not because I'm like, ooh, I'm a witch and I like black cats. It's like, no, I've always had a black cat throughout my life, and they're like, to me, they're the underdog of the animal world. So we have a black kitty that is sleeping over here in the corner.
Come here.
He doesn't want to come out for the video, but his name's Oliver. We've had him for 3 years now. He's my little boy, and I love him. And he loves John more than me, though. Even though I think you'd say this because I smother him. So, but I love him. He's so darn cute. If he wasn't so cute, I wouldn't want to kiss him and hug him all the time.
He watches TV with me.
Yeah. Yeah. I did have another black cat for 20 years, about that. She was with me through a lot. Her name was Gwen, and she was just the cat. I mean, no cat will ever, never match up to her coolness. She was the best cat, but Oliver just looked at me when I said that and said, "What?" But
cleaning.
Yeah, he doesn't care.
Yeah, I don't really collect anything else much anymore because of space.
He's got a lot of t-shirts.
Space and financial.
He has a
constraints.
lot of fun t-shirts, either band
my shirts outnumber my jeans,
or car related shirts, or like funny
television.
Cartoons or television related shirts.
I need a new Monsters t-shirt.
Yeah, we're into, just quick rundown, we're into 60s and 70s television, a lot of pop culture-ish things. I like Dark Shadows, Quantum Leap. It's funny because these are my favorite shows and they kind of fall into the science fiction realm, but I'm not a big science fiction person. Like, I'm not into Star Trek or Star Wars. I like Freaks and Geeks, top 5 favorite shows of all time. Just standards, Mary Tyler Moore, Dick Van Dyke Show,
Newhart Show,
Sanford and Son, big fan over here. All in the Family. I
always see sorry, I had to clear my throat.
I'll edit that.
A lot of 60s shows growing up because they're always on in reruns after school. The whole Paul Henning trilogy, Beverly Hillbillies, Petticoat Junction, Green Acres. Didn't see Petticoat Junction until years later. That never got reran when I was a kid. Of course, the Flintstones were on after school. Bewitched, I Dream of Jeannie.
We like a lot of 70s cop shows. We're big fans of the Rockford Files and Quincy, Emergency, Adam 12, all those Jack Webb shows, Dragnet.
We love The Odd Couple. For me, The Odd Couple is just part of your DNA and fabric of life back home on the East Coast, because you had Channel 11, The Odd Couple, The Honeymooners, Yankees games, Abbott and Costello movies on it Sunday morning, F Troop, Little Rascals. With The Odd Couple, just a huge, my friends back home, it's one of the things that just connects you as a culture is that television and that show on the East Coast. So we all grew up watching it, My friend Cynthia is a huge Odd Couple fan. She can notice the thing. Sometimes they have 2 windows in the apartment. Sometimes they got 1.
How do they get that piano in and out of there?
Yeah,
and where do they keep it?
Piano, or maybe a upright piano. Yeah. Where does that go when they're done?
But those things are related to records.
Did it not bother Felix that he had like a goldenrod refrigerator and an avocado oven?
I would think that would bug him. But we'll talk about those things too as we get to those records, because we really love. We've gotten paperbacks of different TV shows, but we also have records for different shows.
Not only can you watch your shows,
you can read them
too.
Yeah, and
that's good in the winter, because northern Michigan, we're stuck in the house during the storm. You can get through one of those paperbacks in one Saturday afternoon.
I'm thinking when we're doing the records, though, I have to adopt that saying, because I'm a child of the 80s. So Reading Rainbow was a really big part of my growing up. And you remember how the kid would always be at the end of showing you the book, and they'd be like, and don't take my word for it, find out for yourself.
One weird thing is about, I was a teenager in the early and mid 80s. And one thing, being a little kid in the 70s, one show from the 70s that I'm not really nuts about that everybody else is the Brady Bunch.
Yeah, I'm not.
It was on after school all the
time.
It's got a kitsch
factor to it,
but I'm just not, you're not passionate about it.
No.
I love other shows, but Brady Bunch, it has its moments. Look up the YouTube clip of Greg Brady stoned the actor Barry Williams was stoned while he did this one episode, and they point out all the things. It's really funny.
For my birthday a couple years ago, John got me a couple of cameos. And one was...
Should we explain what
Well,
Cameo
I'm not
is?
going to plug Cameo. You know it or you don't know it. But it was a, celebrity greeting that you can have personalized for a person. And he got me one from Randolph Mantooth, Johnny Gage from Emergency. And the other one he got me was Paul Michael Glaser, Starsky from Starsky and Hutch, which was just so cool. And I'll just treasure it forever. So yeah, we love Starsky and Hutch. We're really big fans of that too. So
yeah.
Yep. So welcome to our nerdy little world.
Nerd.
Here is my buddy boy.
What do you say?
Here is Mr. Oliver Cat. He looks so happy to be forced to... I think the light is not agreeing with him. Says, I don't like the light. Okay, we'll put you down. Okay? Okay.
Anyway, thanks for watching. We're always open. One thing we like to hear is the questions from viewers who want to ask about things. We'd be happy to answer them. We got a lot of great ideas floating around in our heads about future videos, not just, going cube by cube here, but I'm hoping to, do some record store stories, things I experienced at Izzy's.
Yeah, and we'll probably at some point take you to the basement and show you show you the books. Oh, it's another thing that when I did that low voice there reminded me of the Mighty Boosh. I'm a Noel Fielding Mighty Boosh nut fan. Oh my gosh, if you love British comedy and you've never heard of the Mighty Boosh
or the IT Crowd,
we love that stuff so much. So you might hear some references right there. So, but anyway, yeah, we might take you to the basement and show you some of our books and our other little weird collections and stuff. So, but this is us in a nutshell. And no, this is me in a nutshell. Sorry. Austin Powers. Yeah, so like John said, feel free to leave us a comment, and with any questions or ideas that you have for future videos. And I'm really excited about eventually getting to the miscellaneous section, because like I said, it's going to be so random. You're going to have like a country record and a sound effects record and a rock record and a comedy record and a soundtrack. And so for me, and as much as I know John and, his music tastes, it's been kind of fun to look at these records and play a little game in my head of, why does he have this? Like, I don't know. Is it this? Is it that? And then him being able to enlighten us as to why. So
I wonder if there's going to be a few records we're going to be like, oh boy, I'm embarrassed by this.
Yeah. Guilty pleasure.
Or something.
Yeah. So anyway, thanks for sticking around if you made it this far. Hope you enjoyed our little getting to know you video. And again, we look forward to your comments. Like, comment, share, whatever that whole spiel is. Subscribe so that you can get updated with whenever we put out a new video. So thank you so much. We appreciate you, and we'll see you next time.